Hello America, and to our friends around the world, greetings and welcome back. As you can see, the chickens are enjoying the daylight. They've been chilling out on this cooler late July. Of course, they're doing quite well. They've been getting outside a little bit. I may have mentioned that the other day, or yesterday, or whenever that was. 10 of them out of the 12 went outside, and they didn't know what to think of it. They were in a contained area, of course. I'm not going to let them roam free. I came across a net, a 4-foot long handle with a net. In the off chance one should find itself in danger. And as chickens are quite skittish, more so than cats, and anybody who's attempted to catch a cat knows, so I thought I'd try to be preemptive just in case. I have a few other things that I'm thinking about for modifying their area, but at present I have a backup air conditioner in case it gets too hot in that area. I just need to set it up so it vents outside, out to the general area versus inside their contained area. They haven't figured out how to use the water tappers, the self-tapping water dispensers, or nipples, or whatever you want to call them. I'm hoping that in time they figure that out, but as long as they don't, they still have the 1-liter water silo that is available to them. I'm happy that I have these pedestals to set the water, both of the water cans on top. Alright, so the chickens are doing quite well, as you can tell. They're not laying eggs yet. They're not old enough, but that's alright. I'm happy that what I started with are still surviving and flourishing, or doing well, flourishing, blossoming, whatever colorful word you can think of for they grow big and feathery. I've been having fun coming up with the various titles, the Birdie Dozen, what was it, Feather Trek, the Wrath of Cluck. I think I'm going to call this one maybe Feather Academy, or Talent Academy, Beak Academy, Chirp Academy, I don't know. What was it, Chirp Academy, Clucks and Training, something, all the throwbacks to the 80s and 90s, Cluckmando, or if I can think of a way of incorporating a bird, or chicken-related, I guess poultry. So the polleder, instead of the predator. It's a bit of a stretch. The Cluck Connection, starring Bird Cluckman. Those are just, if they sound horrible, just bear with me. These are ideas that are coming off the top of the head. I amuse myself with simple humor. So, I wanted to throw the chickens on here so everybody could get a look at how they're progressing. I want to transition to something that has been getting a lot of attention, and that is various forms of so-called AI, whether it is the ChatGPT, Grok, OpenAI, the the Google AI, like for example, even the VEO, Victor Echo Oscar 3, which they're rendering apparently is just stunning. There are a lot of people out there that are excited by the potential of this level of creativity being at one's desktop and to create, to direct, to produce their own versions of things. I think of it this way. What's his name? Computing Forever guy. David. Dave. Oh shoot. I can't remember. Dave Cullen. You know, that lives over in Ireland, right? He writes books, fiction books. Imagine being able for him to write his book and then upload it as, you know, an AI generated movie. That'd be pretty fantastic. The same thing, you know, it'd be a little bit more difficult to do, but somebody such as Mark Dice, who also does a lot of writing, but he deals more with contemporary politics and so forth. But being able to create AI animatics of, you know, either political parties or caricatures of, you know, Tip O'Neill. That's another throwback to the 80s. You know, duking it out with Reagan or something. Yeah. The gloves are off, so to speak, with the creative element. But then you have somebody such as the Chuck, the star of Chuck from, what, 10 years ago? Zachary Levi. He's warning of how it's going to displace a lot of people. Not just actors, but the production crews. You know, the people that make it all happen. The carpenters, all the trades that make the productions happen, whether it's television, movies, stage shows. If you're able to sit at a desktop computer, laptop, and you're able to write a prompt, and if you're getting all of your information, as more and more are doing via these video platforms, it's going to decimate their industry. So on one hand, it is great in the freedom. On the other hand, it's frightening in the sense of the massive amount of disruption it's going to do. But it's not only the entertainment industry that it's going to impact. I fully suspect not only are white-collar jobs going to go the way of the dodo, which I guess we can't say anymore because they brought it back, what, 5 years ago. But you get the reference. I fully expect the trades will be automated within 25 years, maximum. And I'm going to present this example. The car, how is it manufactured? It's on a rolling assembly with robots that put it together. How difficult is it going to be for somebody, once these robotics become more commonplace, to design a robot that can fit inside the tight fit to get to, for example, to change out an alternator, water pump. You're going to have robots that are able to remove the serpentine belt, disconnect the 3 or 4 bolts holding that particular item, remove it in a way, whether they have to disassemble the entire, the whole thing, or just remove just that one item, isn't relevant. It will be programmed based upon the make and model and what it scans in visually and do it. And this will be applied to carpentry and paving. We've already seen it being done with 3D printers and construction, whether it's bridges, whether it's homes. It is inevitable with self-driving cars that's going to translate to self-flying airplanes and helicopters and self-piloting boats, cruise ships, tugs, whatever. No field is going to be safe. I always thought it was amusing in the Star Wars movies that the Doctor was a robot, and a beat up one at that, versus Star Trek, which would have Bones McCoy, you know, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer, you know, type things, you know, that would come out of his mouth, right? And what was it, the one episode where he's laying underneath a shade tree, you know, with a straw grass hanging out of his mouth, and the man comes up and says, I'm going to put you to work, doctor. I'm a doctor, not a field hand, or something like that. And the guy said, on this farm, everybody works. Anyway, I digress. What I found amusing is that in the first one, the Star Wars movies, they had robots as doctors, and I thought, I don't know that I would want a robot working on me. What's to prevent it from chopping me up versus sewing me up the correct way? A glitchy code, an electromagnetic flare, you know, or storm or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. But what I wanted to bring up to you as an example is I spent 2 hours doing free AI generation. And what motivated me is Legion of Men, Bo Refik, Bogdan Refik, whatever, you know, I'm pretty sure he prefers to go by Bo Refik. But he was chastising that if you don't do this, if you don't learn AI, you're going to be left behind. And even those who learn it will be left behind eventually. But if you know what if you learn to do it, you're going to be a little bit more insulated and be on more of a cutting edge. And he demonstrated coffee. How to make the perfect cup of coffee, and how it was water and volcanic soil and so forth, as to the elements that create the most perfect cup of coffee. And this was all done based upon AI chat prompts. And a prompt is, you type in a simple sentence of what it is you want to create, whether it's a narration, image, or video generation. Several months ago, I read the original story of, it was called Armageddon, 25 something something, but it was the origination of Buck Rogers, which has, night and day difference almost, except for a few names here and there, from the original story and the early 80s, late 70s television show, which is part of the reason I wanted to read it. But I was thinking, I used the AI off of Grok to generate images to go along with what I was reading. And I thought, well, this is frustrating, but interesting. And then after watching Bo's video on the coffee production for the quality cup, I took Grok and had it provide for me a list of free resources to make video. And what I created was based upon the simple information that I had obtained from reading and just my own interest in Egyptology, Egyptian mythology. So I used Synthesia to create a 100-second introduction video, and then I used another one called Quebec Whiskey Echo November, if I'm not mistaken, to generate 5-second videos of various, well, you'll see what they are here in a moment. So now that you've gotten your fix of chickens for the last 14 minutes, let's take a look at the video. And hopefully this comes across correctly with the audio intact.
Egypt, a land shrouded in mystery, has captivated explorers for centuries. Napoleon's expedition unearthed the Rosetta Stone, a key to unlocking ancient secrets. This discovery marked a turning point in understanding Egypt's enigmatic past. The Rosetta Stone, inscribed in Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphics, was a linguistic puzzle. Scholars like Thomas Young and Jean-François Champollion dedicated years to deciphering it, revealing the language of the pharaohs. Understanding hieroglyphs opened a window into Egypt's past, offering insights into its culture and history. This breakthrough allowed us to connect with a civilization long lost to time. Translating hieroglyphs unveiled tales of gods, pharaohs, and ancient rituals. These stories provided a glimpse into Egyptian beliefs and daily life, reshaping our understanding of ancient civilizations. The newfound knowledge of mythology enriched our appreciation of Egypt's cultural heritage. It highlighted the profound impact of these ancient narratives on modern culture and thought. The Rosetta Stone stands as a symbol of linguistic and cultural breakthroughs. By deciphering hieroglyphs, we preserve and celebrate Egypt's rich heritage, ensuring its stories endure through generations. Recapping our journey, we've explored Egypt's allure, the Rosetta Stone's significance, and the myths it unveiled. By understanding these elements, we deepen our connection to a civilization that shaped history. Join us in celebrating Egypt's legacy. Dive deeper into its mythology and discover its influence on modern culture. Together, let's keep the spirit of ancient Egypt alive and thriving.
And that's the synthesia. Hopefully the audio went through. And that's all AI generated. It took maybe 10 minutes to write in a short paragraph. This is the first image that I had it create showing France invading Europe. That's supposed to be Napoleon. Didn't do a very good job of creating Napoleon. That's supposed to be the French advancing as they conquer Egypt in 1798, and that's supposed to be, originally it was supposed to be the French, but I'm going to just use them as Egyptians. That's the French explorers' tomb raiding, supposedly. That is Horus, the Horus rising, the sun, and that is Set, the sun Set. Set being menacing is how I labeled it. That is Re of Heliopolis, the sun god. That's supposed to be Re, starting his descent into, to Set and into the Duat. Duat is the underworld of Egyptian mythology. And look at this imagery. It's amazing. I wish it were longer than 5 seconds. That was supposed to be a rendering of the Nile doing its flooding. And then we have Ptah creating the earth. Then this is its imaging of Geb and Nut being created. And that's supposed to be the three, the sky at the top, earth, and the underworld, Duat. That is the mound of which life began. And here we go with the spark of life. All right. So what did you guys think?
Egypt, a land shrouded in mystery, has captivated explorers for centuries. Napoleon's expedition unearthed the Rosetta Stone, a key to unlocking ancient secrets. This discovery marked a turning point in understanding Egypt's enigmatic past. The Rosetta Stone, inscribed in Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphics, was.
There you go. Back to the chickens. All right. Uh, the length of time, as you could tell, it was what, barely 3 minutes. And let's see, I don't have it available. So it was less than 5 minutes. It took nearly 2 hours to make, based off the two platforms, the Quen and Synthesia, and it was all done for free. Now, granted, Synthesia provides a much more realistic presentation and more. It's a sharper, more professional. But imagine you're a startup business or you're trying to do something simple for marketing to put online. Synthesia, you can do that, and it doesn't matter what it is that's your industry or your interest or whatever it is that you would like to promote, whether it's your your farm eggs, or your pending legislation that you're concerned about, or a book you have just written, or a play that you're producing. I mean, as they say, the world is your oyster. But Synthesia, for free, I was pretty impressed. Quinn, you know, I wasn't disappointed. Even though it was 5 seconds, it took probably about 8 minutes for each 5-second video to be rendered. But I will tell you that more than 50% of the time, it created the first video based upon the prompt was adequate, and you see the result. And that was my first time using the AI prompts and generation to create any kind of video. I have no idea if it gets easier. I imagine it does, because the more you do something, the more proficient one tends to become. So hopefully that example and others who have been encouraging you to develop those skills, this will be your motivation to sit down and do it. Don't be deterred by the, oh, he said 2 hours, I don't have 2 hours. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. If you don't learn the other skills, you're not going to have anything of which is going to be valued. And apparently this is one which is probably going to be of value. So, let me know your criticisms and or experiences in using AI video generation, what sources you used. I only use these two out of the entire list that Grok provided. There's more, but I was impatient and wanted to jump right into it, so the first one I read was Quen, and it fit what I wanted, and I did that for probably an hour, hour and a half. Then I maxed out what I could do for the day. I think I made probably 15 plus 5-second videos. Some I liked, most of them I liked, some I didn't, and I would have it recreated. Synthesia, first thing it made was stellar. I mean, it could be improved, I have no doubt, but for what it was, the information I typed in my little, because I talked about Young and Champollion, I think that's how he pronounced his name, in regards to the Rosetta Stone and how it came to be translated, and its impact upon society and our ability to comprehend ancient Egypt and its deep history and mythology. So, again, let me know your experiences in using various forms of AI, video and image production. And one of the reasons I wanted to use this as an example, though, is budget. To call me cheap doesn't do, it is not sufficient. I'm not quite a tightwad, but I if need be, I'll glue my soles to my shoes back on. I will grab a needle and thread and stitch my socks back together. Most people would just go buy a new package of socks for 15 bucks or whatever. And I would rather put that $15 towards something else. And if you're of the same mind, do some, that's what this was for, is show that you can learn this without dropping $300 a month. And you can still create something that is at least, video game quality of 10, 15 years ago. And that may not be sufficient for you, but at least it gets your foot in the door to learn how to start writing these prompts. And then as you're skilled in writing these prompts, then you can start putting some money on these systems, whether it's the VO system. Oh, Gemini, that's the name of the system. I couldn't remember. If I'm not mistaken, that's either Facebook or Google's AI. Brave has an AI, but I've only used it for summaries, to write up summaries. Um, for diagnostics and so forth. But I digress. Uh, that's what this was about, was to show you that you don't need to drop 50 bucks a month. You don't have to drop 300 bucks a month. You can do it and learn how to write these prompts to get results that you want. And then as you become more skilled in that prompt writing, then you can make that decision for yourself whether or not you're going to spend the money, or if you're willing to be patient and stitch together 5-second clips, of your production. Hopefully you found it informative. Let me know your opinions, your experiences. Good luck.